Good afternoon, and welcome to another Super Secret Project sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X. And I pulled it off that time. That shows me that vacations are indeed important. Not as burnt out as I was. I'm only slightly burnt out now. Today, I'm by myself. The little lady's got work she needs to get done. And I decided I am going to be working on Yosemite Sam. If my screen will behave. There we go. It behaved. I'm going to work on Yosemite Sam. And he's a fairly simple design, but I want to see what I can do. He's mostly hair and a nose. Not too unlike Captain Caveman. I am softly unorganized. I haven't done this in a couple of weeks. Alright, so what I'm gonna do here is get that centered a little more. Alright. I'm gonna take my guy, Yosemite. I'm fairly certain Sam is perhaps not the family name, but really, who knows these days? I'm going to start by generally laying the figure out, and on Yosemite it's important. I know he's kind of small on the screen, but his hat and his facial hair is stunningly gigantic. So, for example, if you started drawing the face in the center of your paper, chances being I'm assuming that to be a mustache, and his hat would run right off the paper. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to start small, which is, I think, a really good idea with this dude. And we're just going to try to get the base shape of the head. And you're thinking to yourself, how the heck can you tell the base shape of Yosemite Sam's head? And the thing is to be completely honest, you can't. You just, in your mind, you have to kind of figure out what you think it is. And I think it's kind of a stubby capsule shape. And then what I'm going to do is, and this is all going to be wrong, but that's fine, because right now you're doing a layout, is I'm going to kind of throw rough shapes in. Nose, roughly where I think the eyes to be. I'm going to put a rough upper lip, and again, you're like, the heck, dude, this looks nothing like Yosemite Sam. That's completely fine, because right now, layout is the important thing, and I'm going to go in, figure out where his mustache is going to be, figure out roughly where his face is, figure out roughly where his chin is. Hat comes, let's see here, it's going to come out to about here, and none of this is going to be perfect. I just want to make sure I can get him onto my page, and once I am fairly certain I can do that, then I'm going to start worrying about it. And I've come to the conclusion, in general, I've got him roughly in the right spot on the page. So from this point on, I can actually start really figuring out what stuff looks like, where stuff goes. He's an angry dude. Gonna get the angry dude lines in. And so basically what I did was, this ain't genius, I know, but I'm roughly replicating what I'm seeing in the original model sheets here. at least I'm assuming these are original model sheets. It says model sheets. If they're not originals, whoever put them together did a good job. So I'm going to kind of do the, where you kind of put a line and then you put a little half circle and there's the eye. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the circles and just make sure that these eyes feel right to me. And don't spend like 10 minutes doing it, spend a couple seconds. I use 4H pencil, so it very easily can be erased. Alright, so we got that. Better define his nose a little bit. Yep, that initial circle I put down was not the best spot. I wasn't expecting it to be. Glad I'm not rusty. Like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of drawing in the last couple of weeks. Went and had some vacation time with my super special lady. No, not that one, my wife. No, totally my wife. Like all this can attract more than one. I'm shocked I won the lottery on the first one. I love my wife. I really did. I really won the lotto on that one. She's a wonderful woman. All right. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. You know what? I feel as if the nose should come out more. Yep. And what I typically do is when I draw my versions of the characters, I try to keep them kind of on point. But on the same note, what's the point in me replicating exactly what's going on? So I have a tendency of drawing things in certain ways. So I have a tendency of putting just a little bit more structure and anatomy in. I don't want to go too far on some characters because they just square out and look wrong. But with Yosemite, actually, it's part of that kind of old American tradition. So there was some decent enough reality going on there. They were paying attention to basic structure and general anatomy in a very loose sense. I'm not delusional, but in a loose sense. It's kind of funny. I just recently found out, it was actually a few weeks ago when I was doing Bugs Bunny, and Lashida and I were talking about it. We both found out they're doing new Looney Tunes. Actually, I found out, I think she already knew, new Looney Tunes cartoons. And they're trying to kind of bring back the way they used to do it. I'm hoping they bring him back. This dude, there's nothing right about this guy. He's just a low-down, awful, angry, one might even say hateful person. And that's why he's funny. I'm sure there's some people out there disagreeing with me. That's fine. All right. So, I'm having one problem with him right now. And that's my problem. That's not a problem with the character. Is I know there's cheekbones, and again, people are like, why are you bothering putting cheekbones in? It's covered up by his face mask, which unless he's got tattoos on his face, that's a bandit mask. Which is so funny that they put it on because you can barely see it. It's just like a little bit on the side of his head. But I kind of want to have it in there. I think I'm going to make him a little ornerier than normal, which is, I think, saying something. God, he was one of my favorite villains when I was a little kid. I had a number of them, but he was right up there because he was so full of himself. He was so full of himself and so angry for no apparent reason. Like, there was no reason for him to be full of himself because he was he was that great of a guy. He must have realized that. You know, he just... He must have. Maybe that's what it is. He had sort of a sardonic sense of humor about who he was. And he just knew he was just kind of a piece of crap. You know, it's just got to be something like that. Alright, so... You know what? I've come to the conclusion. Part of this is a mustache. The rest of it is some kind of a beard that splits right down the middle because the mustaches do not go in under your mouth, obviously. So... Actually, let me move that over a little bit. Just to smooth that off. He's got these big, wonderful eyebrows. I'm going to do some cleanup here shortly, but I want to get some more info down first. Wonderful, big, thick, squarish ears. Put that up a little higher. Need some Joe. Oh, man. Had some great balcony time today. Went out and the air was great, and it was, you know, the sun wasn't hitting me quite yet. It was nice and warm. Actually, let me bring that up, this ear back up further. And I'm sitting out there and I'm just enjoying myself and sipping coffee and just relaxing and not noticing the temperature is steadily creeping up from like 75 to about 89 degrees. And I'm out there going like... starting to melt and starting to do that like nap fade where you're like, man, why am I so tired? I had the whole house opened up and the air was going through and it was amazing, and then suddenly it was like somebody stuck a hair dryer like right in the window and the whole house is like getting hotter and hotter, and I'm going like, whoa! Ended up just sealing everything off as fast as I could and just threw the air conditioning on. I know, tough life. I know, but still, I was just like, it just kind of, it did that like, you know, that thing where, you know, you, not that you would, but you put, why would you, that you put a frog in water that's slowly being heated up and they don't notice. It was kind of like that with me. I was just totally like not noticing how warm it was getting, and I'm kind of a big chubby dude, and heat is my enemy. Actually, let me I think his hat goes down much further than that now that I'm looking at it. Yep, it does. There we go. Actually, there we go. I think I was always I don't think jealous is the right word. Envious. Is there a lighter version of it? I don't know. But the artist that could just go down and be like, pop, 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 done. And I've just never been able to do it. I also think there's a certain real advantage to carefully figuring your layout out first. Your layout out? Layout, yeah, whatever. Your layout out first. Yeah. So, first little bit I did, so just threw some ugly, and they were ugly shapes down, just to make sure I could fit them on the page. And then this step is, now I'm generally starting to do the structures and the lines and stuff. And again, it's fine that they're ugly, but it's like the next step. Now I'm just making sure the character is generally roughly where I want them to be, and I'm going in and, like, you can just, for example, I mean, here's a really good spot. Top of mustache, top of mustache, top of mustache, top of, you know, it's, I'm just kind of like figuring out where bits and pieces are. And then once I'm kind of happy with some stuff, and you don't have to do a perfect job initially, but get rid of it. Get rid of the stuff you don't need. And at this moment, I'm seeing a bunch of stuff I don't need. Actually, I'm seeing how they kind of, let's see, actually I think they did a nice thing here in the original drawing. I'm kind of trying to do this, and they flattened the bottom off here at one spot. And yeah, I think that actually kind of looks nice, so I'm going to keep that. Put a happy little beard here and a happy little beard there. Yes. Nice and grindy. But what I'm going to do here, and this is going to break the original character design a little bit, which, by the way, I love. But I'm just doing this because I think in my version it will add a little something. You cannot see his mask. Okay, it's super tiny, I get it. You cannot see his mask between his eyes because of those great, big, freaky, bushy eyebrows. I'm going to make the eyebrows just a tiny bit smaller, and I kind of feel like I just want to see a little bit in there. Because honestly, I just kind of want to see it. I just want to see maybe if there was, I'm going to improve Yosemite Sam. No, just kind of wanted to see if that would actually do something. And my feeling is I'm going to end up covering that up or removing it or something, but I just kind of want to see if I can sneak a little bit more of the mask in there. All right, so his eyes are like bing, open. So what I'm going to do is I want to add a little bit more angsty, mad, manic insanity, because Yosemite Sam Uh, I always thought was a villain mostly because he was somewhat out of his mind. Um, so one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, if your expression is completely even, whether it's angry or happy or whatever, if you have a symmetrical expression, it's usually you can very easily read it. But like if your eyes or your mouth or whatever is asymmetrical, it usually either adds character or makes it more frightening or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm adding a lower eyelid, but instead of going straight across, I'm going to come up at an angle, and then instead of going straight across here, because I actually kind of want his eyes open a little bit, but I want to add a little bit of the top lids, I'm going to go the other way, and it's going to make one side a little smaller. Hopefully it's going to make him look a little crazier. And then I can go in and add a little bit of a lower eyelid, which is, I mean, you can see it on Yosemite Sam. You can totally see it, but I usually when it's blinking and stuff, but I kind of want to make him more of a villain. Yes, I can see this was the right choice for today. This feels good. This feels good. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, alright. Say your prayers, rabbit. Yosemite. You crazy jerk. I love this guy. Alright. So, got a little bit more of the mask in there. What I'm going to do is, and this is completely irrational, I don't care. I want to put some of the mask on the upper lid, even though his eyebrows are showing through. I think that will make him look... Yeah, that's goofy enough. Okay, so there's a couple ways of doing this. Everyone does it a little different. He has the big eyebrow bushiness, and so I'm just going to freehand it. There's a couple ways of doing it. But I think in this case, freehanding is just probably the best way. Let my hand tell me where I'm going on it. Say your prayers, Rabbit. I can't do a good Yosemite Sam. I love his voice, though. I'm gonna take this little kerchief knot here. Feel the need to exaggerate the hat a little more. I think what it does is it needs to come out. There we go. That's feeling better. actually. Aha. My lighting was bad. It's what I get for being away for a couple weeks and not paying attention to my lighting. I was like looking at the software. I'm looking down at the software. And I'm going like, something wrong there? It's cut in half. I'm like, oh, is it? Dummy, you forgot to adjust your light. Someday I'll have a TV production crew. I highly doubt that. Actually, it was had a New York Times video they put together about Bob Ross, you know, like where are his paintings, why can nobody buy them? And basically the guy didn't want his paintings to be sold. And there was this great interview, and it must have been late 80s or whatever, but it was one of those normal daytime jerk late 80s TV guys that are always trying to get the dirt kind of BS. And had one of those guys talking to Bob Ross, and he's like, what do you mean you're not going to get any of your paintings into a museum? Blah 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 blah. And Bob Ross looked at him. It's like, I'll be real surprised if any of my paintings ever end up in a museum, let alone a place like the Smithsonian. Meanwhile, there's now a collection of Bob Ross paintings in the Smithsonian, or will be shortly, or they're working on it, or whatever, because he is a important part of Americana's art tradition, and the Smithsonian was like, we need some Bob Ross paintings. And the guy was totally like so humble, it never occurred to him how important he actually was. And yeah, you can have your own opinion about the guy or whatever, or the validity of his art, but the fact is he moved a lot of people, myself included, because when I was a kid, there wasn't a lot of art on TV, but there was Bob Ross. And there was a lot of jerks on TV, you know, saying a lot of awful this and blah, blah, blah. Not Bob Ross. He was just a kind, nice dude that wanted to do paintings and have other people have great experiences doing art. I'm not a landscape artist. I'm a cartoonist, and when I got to college, I bumped into my own art snobs, many of which made fun of Bob Ross too. And I was told, without a doubt, in countless ways, how inferior this is as an art form, and how anything that's a pretty picture or just something somebody enjoys, blah, 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 if it's not in a museum, if it doesn't have some political point or existentialist BS, blah, 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 which that's fine if that's what you want. I'm not judging your thing. What I'm saying is, to me, this is all art. It's all legitimate. It is a crazy, weird thing that means something to somebody, made by somebody. And so therefore important. And Bob Ross, the dude did like over 30,000 paintings, and yeah, maybe it's your thing, maybe it's not your thing. That's actually kind of irrelevant. It meant something to somebody, and he introduced a lot of people to the idea of you can just be an artist. And that's important, because I've known a lot of people that, you know, I don't want to judge them as human beings. I don't, because I don't judge them as human beings. I just never understood where they came from. Art is almost like this unobtainable like they're sorcerers or something, or it's a political movement and you just don't get it, or whatever. And I just never understood that. I never understood it. I tried. I really did. I bumped into a lot of people, like way too many people, many of which were instructors, unfortunately, which to me is what was really wrong, is instructors shouldn't act that way. But this is going to sound awful. This is going to sound really bad. I got to hate the phrase open-minded, which was weird, because in the circle that I was educationally in, open-minded didn't mean open-minded. Open-minded meant, you know, from their point of view, we are right and you are wrong. You don't like our artwork, so you're not open-minded. But we don't have to like your artwork. Stuff like this, stuff like Bob Ross. And that's fine, because we're righteous in that way. And I just never understood it. I just always sat there going like, and it wasn't all the teachers. It most certainly was not. A couple of the really cool ones got it. I loved them. But if you can't see an art tradition in something as simple as Bob Ross and people from their homes making paintings, or from stuff like Looney Tunes and Disney and you know, and if you can't see that and you think that you're so much better, all the power to you. I don't get you. I can't tell you the number of weird conversations I was in just trying to validate the fact that I wanted to be a cartoonist. And then and here was the weird one. Here was the super weird one. I had to actually try to get instructors to understand that I wanted to make money with my art. In a college that was very, very expensive. Actually, let me... movie effects. In a college that was very expensive. So I just was always kind of going like... It's like, man, if I could get to the point in my life where I get to do cartooning and make money, of which, by the way, I currently am not. I'm doing this purely for fun. That'd be amazing. It'd just be amazing. But being in conversations with people that just always look down on you because you didn't choose the chosen art, it's just so weird. It didn't even occur to me how much I was still bleeding that kind of, maybe the word poison is wrong, but it was kind of toxic. No, it was toxic. It was... I got out of that educational experience with a great education and knowing a lot of people, and it was just totally worth it. But also being exposed to a whole lot of just odd thought processes that I couldn't metabolize. Is that the right word? Is metabolize the right word? But I just couldn't quite get to... Couldn't make sense of it, and I tried. Man, did I ever try. I really did. But you kind of got to a point where it was just like, I think a lot of people were just coming from a completely different place than I was, which is fine. That's their world. Let them do the thing. Like we had one, and she really was a nice lady. I don't think we saw eye to eye for a while, but nice lady nonetheless. And in one of our, we were to bring in images of art that inspired us, and she brought in, I think I don't remember, I think it was a European artist, cannot remember who it was, but the statues were white statues of naked people crawling and sitting while pooping big long turds. I'm not making that up. If that means something to you, that means something to you. And I'm just like looking at it going like, all right. Like I wasn't laughing at it. I was just going like, this means nothing to me. because I most certainly didn't want to take anything away from anybody, because like people care about this, you know, you have the right to not care about this. And but I just sat there and I could not. Clearly there was a very difference in perception, and I could not validate to anybody, with the exception of a tiny few, the value of cartooning. They just could not. I mean, there were students there that got it. There was a handful of professors that got it, including one of the greatest history professors ever. I love that dude. My illustration professor, he got it, but I just had a bunch of just like hard pushback. And I was the weird thing is one of them said, "Well, maybe cartoon." I'm paraphrasing, and keep in mind I got a decade, two decades now of space here, but it was something to the effect of, well, maybe if you took your cartooning and made it 20 feet long, and in my head I'm going like, how would I get that into a scanning bed so I could get it into a computer? Why is making my cartoon characters 20 feet long, what does that have to do with anything? And I could never get an answer, and I'm not degrading where they were coming from. I just couldn't figure it out. It was like, can't it just be awesome? Can't it just be fun? Apparently it had to be 20 feet long so I could get into a museum. I guess I'd have to be a big museum, because that's a 20-foot line. Don't get me wrong. I mean, whew. Could I have myself a 20-foot long painting of Jessica Rabbit? I think that'd be amazing. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, I'm like, why exactly would I do that? I mean, can you imagine how expensive the paints would be alone? I mean, the canvas would be like crap, that's like $1,000 canvas. I mean, or even if you just did it on masonite, that's got to be hundreds of dollars worth of masonite. And I mean, I'm a cheap dude. I don't try to spend a lot of money here and there. I mean, I just couldn't figure out. I'm like, where? If y'all aren't wanting to make money with your art, how are you getting all this money to make all this expensive art? I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, oh, I guess we're coming from two very different worlds here. I wasn't coming from one privileged enough to have that kind of money and resources to kind of do high concept, postmodernist. Like I said, I don't want to judge. I really don't. I just had such a hard time figuring that out. Meantime, the whole time, and at the time I was, and I still am, but I was really into anime and manga. Lately, I've been trying to just be into anything that's this craft, because I just like this craft. I think there's a lot to learn from everywhere. But I just could not. I couldn't figure out how to get anyone to take me seriously, I guess. At the school, I found people who could take me seriously, but that's a pretty good start. I think I could start cleaning stuff up a little bit, maybe adding some shadow. All right. Yeah, I kind of want to light coming here, so yeah, I kind of like that. Don't think I'm bashing my college. I thought that was a great experience. There was elements of it I clearly just did not understand. And I think it was people. I think there was just people in it that and I was trying, but like I had this one class. No, I will not name the teacher. But it was a figure drawing class. Keeping that in mind, it was a figure drawing class, and we were to do a figure that had anatomy. But we were allowed to kind of define beyond that what we wanted to do. So I did one of my female anime-esque characters, kind of based her anatomy a little bit off my current wife, which, by the way, has the curves. So spent time, and at that point in time, doing projects in Photoshop was kind of out of the ordinary. So I did, because I wanted to do digital artwork, so I did it in Photoshop, printed it out, brought it in, blah, blah, blah. C work. And I was like, actually, to this day, I still think it was a pretty good piece. Not as good as I can do today, but pretty good. I'm like, okay, well, maybe that was worth a C. I might have just not gotten something. By the way, this is the project that I was informed that men are not allowed to draw women because men aren't women. Well, apparently I'm not allowed to draw cars because I'm not a car. I can't figure that one out. I can't draw cowboys. I'm not a cowboy. I don't get it. But so, and the thing is, again, I'm not blaming the student at all. I just don't get the art mentality. So one girl brought in a piece of craft paper, you know, the kind that you could buy. I know, I worked at an art store. I know what art paper looks like. She didn't make the paper, she bought it. And then sewed some gold thread through it. It wasn't even in the shape of a stick figure. It was just a piece of fancy paper with some, I think it was gold thread, but thread nonetheless was sewn through it. Oh, how amazing this piece was. Blah, blah, blah. It's the feminine form, this and that. I'm staring at it going like, it's a piece of paper with a thread through it. It wasn't, this is a figure drawing class where you get an A by not drawing a figure, but apparently you embrace feminist politics or something. It didn't even seem like feminist politics, but it was something about the female form and this and... But it was a figure drawing class where a figure wasn't drawn, and I went through all the extra work of doing it in a medium that at the time wasn't being done all that often, and I can tell you this, I spent far more time than she did. She got an A for a piece of paper with a thread in it, and I got a C for going the extra mile and actually drawing a figure that had, admittedly cartoony, but anatomical features. And as you can tell, I've had kind of a long journey trying to understand certain things, and I'm having a hard time doing it still to this day. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not judging, I just don't understand. And this is me 20-ish or more years later going like, I still don't get it. I'm so lost. I'm like, what were they seeing? And I've tried. I was there. I was in hundreds of hours of conversations, and I still walk out going like, you can put thread into a piece of paper and you're a genius, but if you draw a cartoon character, you're an imbecile. Speechless. I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that. And it's not that I hate or dislike any of these people. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, I even had there, and the thing was, is there was one lady I actually got. She came in, and as you can tell, I'm not a fine artist type remotely. But she came in and she explained her kind of her fine art stuff and did this beautiful presentation of sort of her sculptural and, if I remember correctly, kind of painting stuff, but I remember it mostly being sculptural. And explained it incredibly well. And I was going like, oh, wow, I get what you're saying. Okay, that's really interesting. Which is actually saying something, because I had bumped into a lot of artists where I just ended up kind of nodding, going like, all right, that's cool. I mean, I don't get what you're saying, but she did a wonderful job explaining where she was coming from and what this was about. And I kind of kind of walked up to her afterwards as everyone was, I guess meet and greet, question kind of thing, and I just kind of I was like, just want to thank you, kind of a thing. I normally don't understand this stuff, but I think you did a great job, and thank you. This helped me understand where some of the stuff is coming from, this mentality, and blah blah blah. And she just looked at me like I was a slouching grotesque. I just just weird. Just like somebody just paid you a compliment. Somebody just said you helped them understand something. I don't even remember. I don't even think she even said anything back to me. Just weird. Just like I just. Guess I just don't quite belong in the art world, I suppose. That's just, yeah. Super bizarre. Which is fine. I don't need to understand everything. I tried, though, man. But the older I got, the more I figured out one thing. I don't have time anymore to worry about it. I'm going to try to understand what I can, don't get me wrong, but I want to do this. This is what I want to do. Somebody wants to come at me with some kind of postmodernist criticism of blah, 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 yakety, schmackety, capitalism, this, that, the evils of the Western democracies. Oh my God! I literally was in classes going like, can I just learn how to ink my cartoon characters? A bunch of crazy, nutty artist types. I'm just like the thing was, I actually thought it was kind of awesome, but I was also like lost most of the time, going like, wow, you guys are. The funny thing was, and I don't mean this into an insulting fashion, but I was like literally going like, you guys are kind of cartoon characters, I was like, which is kind of awesome because I do cartoon characters, but you can't say that to them because they'd be offended or something, and I'd be like, oh, I don't think that's offensive because I think I'm probably a little bit of a cartoon. Actually, I think almost everybody in a fashion is a little bit of a cartoon character. I actually think that's kind of. Kind of lets everybody just kind of giggle about stuff and go like, yeah, oh, he's just being a bit of a cartoon character today. Didn't mean to drop some of my long-term frustrations, but that's something I've been dealing with for decades, just trying to understand that. I don't think that I have to. But sure would be nice to kind of be able to understand that at some point. I probably won't ever actually get there, but it'd be nice. Got somebody. How's it going? I'm having an odd day today. Just got back from vacation. Shine Master Joe. And get back in the swing of drawing my cartoon characters. And strangely enough, I'm alone today without my wife, so I'm talking to myself and now you. So thank you for being there for me so I don't feel completely crazy. Just been kind of thinking about the years I was in college and such and dealing with various art peoples. And sort of the struggle to get people to kind of accept cartooning as an art form. which didn't occur to me as being an actual thing up for debate, but apparently it is. So. Apparently some people have a very low respect level for cartooning. Which is weird. It's very weird to me, but what are you going to do? Alright, let me kind of take a step back here a second, look at what I've got. And just so you know. I don't necessarily do finished art here. I try to get a sketch up to the point where I feel good about it. And kind of, oh, you're hosting me, thank you. I try to just do general sketches here, and in the future what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to work up. Actually in the future I have a lot more streaming plans, but right now this is what I can handle. Full-time jobs suck, what can I say? Man, sure had some fun today working on Yosemite here. And don't think I'm remotely bothering you to message me or say anything. It's completely fine. Believe me, I am somebody who very much likes to, I think it's called lurking. Is that what it's called? Because I'm looking off at an audience that does not exist. There we go. Okay, so I know this is kind of rough. How long have I been going? So I am... There we go. Been going for over an hour. As you can tell, I'm completely on it today. All right. So thank you for joining me. And now I'm back onto my normal schedule. So yeah, that would be... Actually, I did it an hour early today. Normally I do 4 o'clock Saturdays and 4 o'clock Sundays. Just so turned out that I wasn't paying attention to the time. So I will be back on tomorrow, and Saturdays and Sundays I will be on for roughly, it's usually 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Usually my wife is here, and we chat ourselves up about some cartoons, and then I do this. Because I need some coffee at the moment. Okay, so that cleaned up. Right. And that would be Yosemite Sam. And tomorrow I will be putting a character right here, and we will be finding out what 2 characters will be living eternally in my sketchbook. Lip locked. Had some very embarrassing combinations in the past. / awesome combinations in the past. So, anywho, thank you for joining me. And have yourself, got my little Mr. Rogers thing going on there. Have yourself a good day, and I will be catching y'all later. Thank you. Bye.